Maybe Rhonda, you could fill in us a little bit about the evolution of the origins of this program and where it's at now.
About, 15, 16 years ago, I, by accident, became an umpire when I took my boys to their baseball game and no umpires showed up. And because I was a coach and had my NCCP and knew all the rules, the parents were like, hey, why don't you just, officiate the game and let the boys play? We all had our dinner. We're all here. Let's let the kids play. So I'm like, how hard can this be? I found out, A, how hard it could be, but B, what a need that we have for people to step up in that area so that our kids can play. So out of that one experience off the bench as a parent who was certified as a coach, I, within about 18 months' time, became the umpire-in-chief of that association and had about 80% turnover rate the following year with my first and second year officials. So I found myself constantly dealing with a brand new group of umpires and people constantly complaining that the umpires didn't know what they were doing. Well, if they're not there long enough to learn what they're doing, you're always in the same spot of being a learner and a brand new. So I had an associate at that time that was working with me that we came up with the idea together that we would keep all of our existing officials on the fields with our brand new officials, and that we would ask the league to schedule the games in such a way that our players that were officials would be able to work in the lower levels. And they cooperated with us because they recognized there was a problem. And out of that developed the mentorship program, where we never let a brand new official on the field without somebody experienced with them for at least the first month of the season. And the competency levels and the feedback that were given to these youth officials, and sometimes they were adults that still were brand new learners, their proficiency levels went up astronomically, as opposed to sending somebody out onto the field by themselves to fend for themselves. We basically get an 8-hour clinic when you teach a new official, and without a mentorship program, nobody ever looks at you again or really is able to give you feedback unless you make it to a higher level on you. So this program basically evolved from making a personalized and intentional development plan for every official when they step on a field, when they're brand new, and ensuring that they're supported and giving feedback for their development.
And when you implemented that at the association you were at, you said you were at 80% attrition, and every year you're having a place. What reversal in that attrition rate did you see?
Within 2 years, I would lose maybe 1 or 2 kids. And it was because they moved, or because they specialized in a sport as an athlete and they didn't have time to officiate. I never lost a kid due to a poor experience on the field. Really, after that, we worked so hard to keep those kids, and the parents could not believe what a great experience their kids were having. And I'm sure Gord will tell you the same thing as a UIC right now, where he's looking after he's got one of the largest associations in the Lower Mainland of youth officials, that the feedback from parents about how supported their kids are, and that the parents actually feel like their kids are safe out there, that someone's got their back, that parents don't have to go and sit in the stands to protect their kids anymore, because they know that as an organization, we look after our own members and are not only working to build their competency so that they will make good decisions on the field, but that when they make mistakes, that we have their back and that we can help them get better, but that we're also protecting them from the criticism and from the coaches or anyone else that might act inappropriately toward them while they're in the development.
How does that transfer over to your level, Gord, working Lower Mainland wise and or with Cloverdale? You seeing similar trends since you incorporated the program?
Well, you heard one of Rhonda's favorite words, pedagogy, so I'm going to say it now, because if I don't hear it from her, I always trip on it. Yeah, I come up with pedagogy and pedagogy, and I don't know what I come up with. It's an interesting environment when you get involved with an association. And when I first arrived at Cloverdale 6 years ago, my first mission or goal was just to go out and observe and see what was there. And you could just tell that the umpires had attended our clinic, which Ron and I both teach. And, we have to try to give them as much information as we can, which is it has a real negative to it in that, you bombard them. You don't really have a choice, right? and then they go out, and how much of that are they going to remember? So hats on backwards and wearing jeans and shoes undone and not knowing where to stand and all these different things. And in talking about the investment, the next thing I did is I made sure that the association, Cloverdale, was on board. And they were really, really keen to be on board because everybody, like you said, Glenn, observes what's going on, and really they don't have an answer. And now Cloverdale said, geez, it sounds like this is something that maybe it will give us an answer. It will give us a path so that we can start to see ourselves kind of come out of that dark tunnel of umpires being out there with really not a lot of support and definitely not a lot of knowledge as to really what to do on the diamond. And slowly but surely, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. As the years went by, slowly the association started seeing that these kids, their confidence started going up. They started getting more involved in being eager to work games rather than looking at it as a chore. And there was, in our third year, we had so many new umpires that wanted to register that if I had taken them all, there wouldn't have been enough games for them. So we had to delay kids from joining until the next year. And that's really an indication of what happened from year 1 to year 3 to now. This past weekend, we hosted a tournament, which I'm always proud of. I try not to call it bragging because that's what Rhonda tends to call it sometimes. I think it's pride myself. We had 6 divisions, 10 teams a division, 5 games a day on 6 diamonds, and every single one of them was umpired by a Cloverdale umpire. And wow. I dare say there may not be another association in the province, maybe the country, that could do that.